Yeah, writer jobs are weird. The porn store. I mean, that was a great writer job. I fucking could read. Like, I read fucking Anna Karenina at the porn store, and I had like talks with the pervs about it. I wrote about it. Like, it was like, who's this Anna Karenina bitch? I'll never get somebody asking, like, does she love the D? And I'm like, that's the problem of the story, man. And I had like basically a porn store book club about Anna Karenina, and that was a beautiful moment in my life.
So how'd you end up at the porn store?
So my girlfriend at the time, we're in Orlando. We graduated. We're both like, we went to UCF. Shout out to UCF in Orlando. And she got like a job working at the Spy Museum. Dude, I just wanted to get the fuck out of Florida. I was like, all right, I'm a writer and musician. I want to do something with that. That's not happening in Disneyland. That's, I'm not going to work for Disney. So I need to get the fuck out of here. And so DC, it's not New York, but it was like, oh, it's something, so, and I needed a job right away. And I'm like, all right, fuck,
I mean, DC's just Hollywood for ugly people.
It is. So I was like, all right, we'll figure this out. And I saw an ad for a video store. I'm like, oh, hell yeah. This is like a dream job. I can do a video store. I'm just surprised that a video store is still around. This is like 2010, maybe 29. I don't know, like 2010, something like that. But I'm like, all right, that's cool that there's still a video store around. I could do that. And, that's a decent job. I'm doing, my own writing and stuff. And I go there and I realize it's a fucking porn store. It's like they had a front, like regular movies, and they're like the worst movies you ever seen, like shit that you can't sell, and then I go in the back, I'm like, oh, okay. And you see, and it was weird zoning laws. Like, you couldn't call dildos. You had to say they were medical devices. You had like vibrators were medical devices. They couldn't actually be vibrators. And I got very good at selling vibrators, by the way. Like, it was like I became like an artist of selling, because it's an awkward thing for a girl. She's coming in. She's like in this porn store. It's mostly dudes. They're looking at her because they're all fucking horny. They're not getting pussy. They're jerking off to porn. So it's already awkward. They're getting the eye, and and I got like teachers and stuff like that. And you get like just women who are working their asses off. They don't even have time for like a decent guy. And then you're just like, I don't want to deal with a man. Men are so bad. I'd rather just get a fucking vibrator and like get a movie for $5.99. Like, those are, and they're decent looking women. Like, these are good looking women. They're just so fed up with dating in DC, which is a shitty place to date, by the way. We can get into that in a little bit, but because Jesus Christ, they are awful. But so you're just like, all right. And you had to just be really sensitive. And honestly, I think this has helped me become a publisher, being a porn store plan. Because I'm working with a lot of female writers, and you're like, they're being very intimate with you. They're like telling, it's like, you have to be really gentle, no judging. You're like, hey, this is just, hey, this is going to really feel good on the clitoris, and that's what it's about. You're just like, you really have to be kind, and you can't make them feel awkward. Like, there's a real art to selling a vibrator as a non-gay dude to a woman, and you can't like make it be like creepy. You can't like make them think, oh, he's gonna jerk off about me later. Like, it's just like, no, I'm here to do this right. I did have a tragic story though. I had a girl she was from some I want to say, yeah, it was Ethiopia, not Somalia, Ethiopia, female circumcised. So sad. She's beautiful, talented, like, not, I don't know if she's talented. I'm just like, I adored this girl. She was just really beautiful Ethiopian woman, got an arranged marriage, had her clitoris chopped off basically, and she wanted to fucking masturbate. And I had to basically teach this woman to masturbate by like G-spot stimulation because she didn't have a fucking clitoris. And I'm just like, yeah, you got to do this. And it was like, this is more than I bargained for with this job, And it became like, and then I noticed, because we lived by a hospital for vets, and I'm like, these guys would come in. So it was like, I always say this, I feel like I did more for the community in DC by people coming in because they just needed a guy to talk to. Like, I was basically a shrink at the end. And that's probably why I thought about being a shrink. These guys would come in, they needed to talk. I'd listen to them. They're fucking war veterans. Like, they sacrificed their life, and they're got missing legs and shit. and I just listen to them and talk to them, and I'm a good listener. And these girls would come in, they just like lonely, So it was a darkness in the porn store too. I mean, it was a great job, but you got a lot of lonely people, and yeah, but her fucking husband, the Ethiopian, her husband found out, and I never heard from her again. I was really fucking sad about that because I think God knows what happened to her.
Hopefully, she didn't end up in the crime plotter.
Yeah, no, like it was not good. I knew this. She'd like called me. She would like call me and just say, "Hey, how's it going?" And talk about like American Idol. Like she just wanted to like learn more about American culture.
Was she just a refugee, or
I'm not sure. She didn't really get. I know she was married. And I know the guy was not a good guy, and there's some darkness at the porn store.
Unfortunately, I mean,
yeah. I mean, the owner, to bring it back to a little light, the owner was the 70s. He was 70. His girlfriend was like 35. He had a fucking wig. He was super Italian guy, Nick. And he had the gold mine of a business at one time. He made so much money selling porn in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s. Then 2010 comes. He's like, why am I not making any fucking money here? And then like, man, he was just, God, he would just like, he wanted me to like tell people, there's like, you listen, you need to tell these guys that there's communist spies on the internet. And I'm like, what the fuck does that even mean? He's like, they're going to spy on them. It's communist. Like, he's just like, he's like still in the 80s. Like we're in a
like the Red Scare is going to stop people from jerking off online.
Yeah, exactly. He really thought that was going to work. And he was like, man, it was like, to use the term of the day, problematic. So, the majority of the dudes that came in with the neighborhood it was at, they were like 90% were black men over 40. He's like, I got an idea to get, the customers happy. We're going to get some watermelon gum. And I was like, what the fuck? I just like, I can't say to my boss, like, that's fucking racist. That's like, not good.
Nick, do you want us to sell fried chicken too? What the fuck?
And then we had, for Christmas, we had this like Barry White singing Santa. He's like, oh, the brothers love this. And he's like, Chris, you got to get the big ass stuff. Don't get this other shit. The big ass, that's what they like. It was just like, no, I'm going to write about this. This is like the thing I need to write about because I feel like enough time has passed and there's like a nostalgia for like the late 2000s, early, I got to write like what's called auto fiction. I'm basically just like, we'll fictionalize a few things, but yeah, I got to write because I dated too there. In DC, it's like the most professional, managerial, whatever you want to call it, class. And they're all working for the government. They're all working for politics. And here I am like this fucking nobody wannabe writer or musician who's working at a porn store. Not a good place to date if that's it.
I'm sure you were a novelty to some of them.
They liked the idea of it, and they, I hooked up here and there, but it was like, to keep it real, I ended up only dating black women while there. Because the white women there, they're either obsessed with Ayn Rand or they're fucking like ridiculous hippie leftists. And I didn't fit in with either of those groups. I'm just doing my thing. So I ended up like, dating mostly, I guess you could call it my white boy summer in DC. I'm going to get canceled for this, aren't I? No.
10 years from now. Don't worry. 10 years.
No, I just was like, I remember these Republican girls and they just wanted they're like, oh my God, it was Ayn Rand who wanted me to be, really taught me the truth of life. I'm like, bitch, you just want to be selfish. Like
Ayn Rand died on welfare. Come on.
Yeah, come on. Like, give me a break. And then it was funny. Like the Republican girls were actually cooler to me just because they were less snobby and the leftist girls would be like, you work at a porn store. Like, it was just like not a good fit for me.
It's like, ladies, yeah, I work in a market that is empowering women to do what they want with their bodies.
No, it was just not a good fit. The musician scene was bad. I mean, I finally find a drummer. He's 40 years old. He lives with his mom. It's just like, I'm not going to go anywhere. If I want to do music and writing, this is not the place for me. And then my buddy had a job for the Department of Labor. So I end up in New York, so I'd like to write like a couple books about just the nonfiction journey to, from DC to New York.
DC is just,
I hate it. I mean, I love, I love the city. It's such a well laid out city. It's perfect. You have all these bands coming in. You have great writers visiting. I just couldn't stand they're just not my people. Like, I'm not into like I remember they were talking about IRAs, and I'm like, why are we talking about the Irish Republican Army? And that's like, I learned that's not that. It's like a retirement fund. And I'm like, these motherfuckers are drinking and talking about IRA. Like, I don't belong here. This is not my crowd. I'm not one to talk about IRAs. So I left. When I was able to leave, I was. But the porn store was a good gig. I mean, I look back on that with, there was some sad shit there, but I learned a lot about life.
I mean, there's sad shit in life everywhere.
Yeah, that's life, but it was, I mean, I really have fond memories of the porn store. Like, yeah, it was a depressing, shitty job, like most jobs, to be honest.
Yeah, most retail jobs for sure.
Most retail jobs for sure. But and I look back on it, and it's mostly good memories.